next is, on the agenda is public comment, and we have a pre-registered public comment from Woolstock. Brent Hansen or Arlen Moy here to speak on his behalf. Go ahead, if you want to come up to the podium, that'd be probably best.
I am Brent Hansen. I helped Woolstock with his driveway. He tried to get that. He couldn't make it to the doctor's appointment. I took some pictures here. The question we have is we're willing to put the sidewalk back in if we have to, but at this point right now it stops at his property line and goes no farther to the east. There's landscaping of the neighbors that I doubt is going to be tore out for sidewalk. We're willing to put it back in if the sidewalk continues or if you guys ask us to. But I have pictures here if you guys want to see them. That's to the east. And that's to the west. So right now I ran it up to his driveway to this point, and we'll go farther if you guys want us to. It basically was a dead end the way it was before.
Looks like there are two houses.
Go ahead.
Two houses. We have another print here. There are two houses to the west then that do not have sidewalk. Is that right? Is this
Actually,
to the east?
To the east, yes.
To the east. Okay. This picture just includes.
Yeah. There's no more sidewalk to the east on that side of the street at all. So I put it from the west of the driveway over to the west, the existing sidewalk. Obviously, they're using the sidewalk. They're going to come that far. To me, it doesn't make much sense to go the rest of the way, but I know the ordinance says we have to. So we thought we'd ask for permission not to replace it farther east.
Well, I drove by and looked at it, and you're right. I mean, it goes to nowhere, and there is sidewalk across the street all the way down the other side. I guess personally, I don't have any opinion that you'd have to put it back in. I guess I'd be fine with if you put dirt in and seeded it. That's my personal opinion.
And that's what we're asking.
Any other opinion on the situation?
I think I'd feel more strongly about putting it back in if there was a sidewalk on the other side. Our effort is to make it so that on every street, people have a sidewalk access, so that they don't have to walk on the street. And it looks like it's quite a distance. How many is it, like several blocks then?
Probably about 5 houses, I'm guessing, east of there yet with no sidewalk, on the north side of the road.
Well, there's really only
Well, there's
two
only
houses.
two houses, it looks like.
But the one is a big building.
The Masonic Lodge.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I think
dead
there's
ends.
only two houses
Is
there
there
and the
only two houses?
lodge.
Right.
How does that play out for the situation we discussed last week or the last meeting, you know, where a citizen had taken out a sidewalk? I don't want to get caught kind of in the middle where we're doing one for one and not for the other, but how do we want to look at those kinds of things? I mean, I understand this completely, but I just want to make sure that
You
the
gotta be
system is
uniform
well.
whatever we do.
I mean, you're exactly right, Brent. I mean, and I agree with this,
Yeah.
but we gotta try and have some continuity here that we are doing the same for all in some respects.
Well, the one thing with the one property we talked about last week, there's actually still sidewalk there that goes down to the street. So
True.
you walk across the street and you walk up, and then there is no sidewalk, where in this case, there's no street, it's not on the corner, it's just basically more or less a dead end of sidewalk.
And I remember when I first looked at the way that division of that area was laid out, there was always plans to continue with that road at some point, but it's kind of landlocked in now with the cemetery, so I don't see that as an issue. But what concerns me is you gotta be uniform in whatever you decide. And I agree, you gotta have, if you've got sidewalk there that's existing and you tore it out, and what this is, at the property we discussed last week, is breaks the continuity, because the sidewalk does continue on with that.
And I think until we come up with something, I think maybe temporarily let them seed it, but then I would say that if we do end up coming up with something where we do require sidewalks, that we would probably ask you to put it back in.
And we'll pay for it, I mean, because right now I think the city pays for sidewalk if it's new sidewalk, is that correct?
No. It's been discussed that if, as an incentive, we thought about it.
I mean, if there was never sidewalk there before, like the new middle school, I thought, actually Craig Cheney told me.
Well, that was part of the Highway 65 project. So we,
Oh, all the way
we
down
went
to the
ahead
middle
and
school?
did that access to the middle school.
Okay. But we would gladly pay for it to be put back in, if that's,
Is this a situation you guys think where the council wants to deal with it on a case-by-case basis? If somebody wants to have a sidewalk removed, they should approach the council for a variance on that ordinance?
Yeah, it probably would be a
That's what
good
it seems
idea,
like.
be a good idea to do it before you tear the sidewalk down.
Yeah, and what do we do?
well, it had to come out anyways, we're
Well, yeah,
replacing, I
I
mean, I'm not saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying somebody could just go ahead and arbitrarily tear it out and then try to come up and get it.
It has not been filled in at all by dirt, or nothing right now, I'm not gonna put dirt on there and have to.
Right now, you're waiting to hear what.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Sean, what would we do to the mayor, or to the mayor, to the neighbors?
Don't do anything to me.
To the west, I mean, they could possibly say,
Right.
you know, we'd like to take ours out too.
Well, yeah, you know, that's why I said leave it in you guys' hands, but I mean, if you guys think that this is a case-by-case scenario where you should, where should a citizen want to remove a sidewalk and not replace it, then maybe they should approach the city, or, you know, should approach Doug, or maybe it should come to the council. You know, because I think everybody heard loud and clear at the last meeting that, you know, you guys wanted to enforce that ordinance moving forward, rather actively. But I think what I'm hearing from the council here is, you know, you're sympathetic to this resident's request, so.
With the
I would agree with
under-
Councilman Davies' proposal. I mean, if we did come at some point in time that, we decide to do it, and the parties are understanding and willing, I can see my way through that, to waive it in this instance.
I can go on with that.
Okay.
Particularly because this one goes nowhere. And if they're going for a walk now, we have the trail right behind here. There's plenty of room to walk there.
My major concern is that on any street, you should be able to be on the sidewalk and not on the road walking.
At least on one side.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have consensus there then, that, pretty much you're free to leave it as is, so, or to fill it.
Yeah.
So, thank you, I guess.
Thank you.
Under the condition that it would need to be replaced in the future if we so
Yeah, right, yeah,
felt it was necessary.
right. Yeah, with that clarification, yeah,
Yep.
so, okay, thanks, Bernie.
Well, then one,
Thank you.
then add one other thing, it might be good just to, I guess, put the word out there that before you tear a sidewalk out,
Right.
it might be best to contact city.
Okay, thank you. We'll entertain other public comment here in a moment, but first, I've got a couple notes here I want to pass along. I wanted to do that first, and I forgot about it. I was in City Hall here a couple hours ago with Ron Dunt, and Councilman Stock came in and tendered his resignation. The letter he gave us reads as follows: as I plan to be moving out of the city of Hampton in the near future in order to seek more employment opportunities, please accept my resignation from the City Council effective Tuesday, July 24th, 2012 at 5 p.m. So I thanked Mr. Stock for his time on the council and for his attention to that matter, and that has been dealt with, and Ron will be looking this week into our options as far as how to move forward with what the council's options are moving forward to fill that seat. So as of this time, you know, obviously we didn't have time to do that research, but Ron will be looking into that. And then we also received a letter again from Shirley Ludens of 1015 First Street Northwest. Reads, Mr. Ron Dunn, City Manager, and members of the Public Assets Committee and City Council. Since I will be unable to attend the council meeting tonight, I am writing this letter at the recommendation of Councilmember Mr. Lukensmeyer, who called me yesterday, July 23rd, to discuss the proposed no parking signage on both sides of First Street Northwest as indicated on the door hanger that I and others on First Street Northwest recently received. The proposed no parking restriction would be on both the east and west sides of the street parallel to each other, extending from the stop sign to the north lot line of Steve and Bonnie Stewart on the east side, and the same distance on the west side of the street. I agreed with Dick that this proposal is a logical and worthwhile solution. Dick and I both agreed that extending the open space was not necessary. When I wrote my letter to you on July 7th, I assumed the complaints about parking so close to the stop sign created problems for truckers as they tried to turn south onto First Street Northwest from 12th Avenue, coming either from the west or from the east as indicated by Mr. Arm's comment in the newspaper article that appeared in the June 27th issue of the Hampton Chronicle. He stated that he would hate to maneuver a 50-foot rig around the corner. Opening up those two spaces on either side of the street would help. Mr. Lukensmeyer also stated that complaints had been received from school bus drivers who were coming from out of town for night events at the high school, which I was not aware of at the time I wrote my letter. We discussed how leaving that space open would be beneficial for regular traffic traveling north to better be able to see oncoming traffic from the east or west. Also, there are a number of people who walk north on the sidewalk to attend these night events, and the open space would provide the drivers of vehicles at night a better opportunity to see pedestrians who were waiting to cross the street to the high school and make it safer for them. I appreciated the phone call I received from Mr. Leto, who said the school board had approved the installation of a buzzer system to allow students to enter the building from the north side. He told me that the head custodian was already in the process to install the equipment, which he agreed would solve the parking and safety issues of students and those of us backing out of our driveways. The buzzer system might not be completed by the first day of school, but should be shortly thereafter. Thank you for all the cooperation and positive feedback I have received, and for the prompt attention to this matter. I really appreciate how everyone was working so well together. Sincerely, Shirley Ludens, 1015 First Street Northwest. So that takes care of those two items. Is there any other public comment at this time?
Brooke Bemler with the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce. Had a couple things. We had scheduled Main Street Iowa to come to present to you, kind of get an update. It is a public-private partnership with the city's involvement. That was canceled and taken off the agenda. It brought to my attention that before they come back again, I want to make sure we have a member of the council on our chamber board, an ex officio member. I want to make sure if there are any questions about our Main Street program or anything that I could take, I wanted to kind of maybe do that in advance or anything else, just to make sure that you're aware of what we've been doing and those type of things. So I didn't know if you had any questions or anything else. I haven't been updating you maybe as much as I should have, or if you want me more or less or whatever, I don't know how often I should. That was number one. Number two, the sign Bandshell Park that we had asked for public funding for. My executive committee has asked me to proceed with fundraising and advertising, accepting advertising dollars and those type of things to fund it. I didn't understand if I had to clear whether you all felt it wasn't in the budget, so we should hold off to be in budget next year to hold. I would hate to have another season of us not having a good sign and realizing in October, November, the sign, hopefully we'll have a good winter, lots of rain and snow and those things, probably need it. That won't be able to open up the locks to change our signs, and so we'll go 3 or 4 months with happy holidays or have a great summer or winter or something. So my board has requested I proceed on with putting that plan together. I wanted to make sure, just kind of get a kind of straw poll that you all are okay with that and not giving me a sign of, no, wait, we want to give you money next year in the budget and we hold off for another year. So I just wanted to open that up so I get it clear. I don't want to put a lot of time into fundraising and those things when you all really meant to say, we want to fund it. Next year, we want to be a partner in this. So any comments or thoughts on that?
That was my intention all along, that we were interested in contributing to that sign, but it just wasn't in the budget.
In the budget.
Okay.
Okay.
And I would think that would be a budget issue for next year. Is that your understanding?
I guess I wasn't clear whether we were gonna go ahead with it. That was a comment that was made at the time, yeah.
Yeah, that was my understanding, I guess, too, was that the concern was that it wasn't in this fiscal year's budget, but it would be addressed in discussions for the next fiscal year budget. I guess I don't know that.
I'd like to take it maybe to a committee or see what, because
Sure.
I know we took it to committee before, and, there was, because I know in February or March when I asked for the thing, that's the comment of, would I be back to ask for the money? And yes, I was back for the money without the budget, so I just don't want to put a plan together, because the question is, who owns the sign now? Because electricity and those type of things is a question. Was it Main Street who owned it, or was it the city who owns it? Who should have the insurance? Who should have the utilities on it? Those type of things.
Are you willing to wait till next fiscal year?
I think it's a community type of deal. I mean, I think the city, it's on city property. If you all are okay with waiting, I would hold off any kind of fundraising or putting a marketing plan together. My executive board kind of said, they felt it was a sign that the city wanted us to raise the money. I didn't know, and I couldn't speak to that because in the comments, it was, well, it's not in the budget. I think that was the biggest thing. It's not in the budget, so we shouldn't be spending money that hasn't been appropriated. But I didn't want to speak on behalf of it, so I thought I should come tonight and just kind of get a firmer grasp of, and I can take it to the budget, take it back down to say, okay, because we could borrow the money, the difference is pretty small. So it wouldn't appropriate anything, but you know, I'd hate to go through another full 18 months of not having to sign. Especially if we could get the electricity running now. At least we could get from, you know, when winter comes, if we can get in the signs, I could even change, you know, look at locks and that stuff, if you want us to continue to maintain it. And which is the question that came up in our discussions, whose sign is it? Is it Main Street organization, the old corporation, is it the city? Who really owns the sign? Because it is a cost to us as far as staff and those things to maintain and update it, so. That was that was my second comments. Last one was the August 9th.
Craig.
Oh, sorry.
Brooke, I'd like to address some of your comments, and I think my whole point was that it wasn't in the budget.
Okay.
And we didn't talk about that, but I sure wouldn't be opposed to you folks doing some more fundraising. That offsets the money that the city has to outlay too.
Okay.
So I think it could be a win-win in that respect. I would,
The fundraising's gonna come to advertising, that's what it's gonna be, is putting someone's name on the sign and working through it. And that's you know, that's how Pat had done the city entrance signs. Those organizations had their names underneath it. And I could go pursue that. I just don't wanna put a plan together to go, you know, should we do that? And which organization gets invited, which one doesn't? How often does, with electronic sign, it could lead to a lot of things.
when you mentioned fundraising and advertising, I thought it was fundraising or advertising. I didn't think that it was all inclusive. I thought that you were gonna do some fundraising to offset the cost of the sign and then pursue advertising as another revenue source.
Sorry, yeah, we would look at it as advertising as the fundraising, that whose name wants to be on it and that stuff. As far as
Would you be
straight
opposed to doing
fundraising.
any fundraising whatsoever, just to help offset the cost of the city?
I'm okay with it. I mean, we can open up now and ask anybody who wants to send us money, to pay for the sign, please send it to us and we'll put it in the same, or send it to the city, earmark it to the city, so that could be the fundraising as far as us going out. Problem is who owns it, those type of things. Am I fundraising on behalf of the city, cause I'm a paid employee and I fundraise for a nonprofit, not for the city. So if the city wants to try to fundraise.
Couldn't you fundraise and then donate the proceeds or the sign to the city at some point in time?
Sure, except we're a member of Dresden Dale. I mean, I understand, I mean, we wanna do good causes and that stuff, but except, you know, I'm an
I would
employee.
certainly be inclined to think that we would discuss it in the next budget hearings. I mean, I would hope that we could. Sure. I think that there's a good intent there
Yeah.
to have the sign.
I just wanna make sure, get my board, kind of make sure, it's like, hey, let's slow down, not go, you know, just up there and understand.
I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea to just pursue some more discussion at the next finance and personnel committee meeting at that level and see if we come up with any more answers. Maybe that gives you a little bit more time, a little breathing room to find some direction.
You know, we've got time, that November, you know, when's the winter gonna happen, I'd be happy to take it to the cut. I just wanna know a direction where you'd like me to go with it.
That won't be far away. I think that's August 6th, Monday, August 6th.
Okay.
That's not too far from
Yeah, I'll be
today.
happy to be there. Any other comments on my third one is the August 9th meeting with the Main Street people coming in on that stuff. Ron sent out an email, I didn't know if you had any questions, was everybody okay with that? I've been on vacation, that stuff, it's kind of an interesting kind of thing to do. I didn't know if anybody had any other comments on that with Main Street, Iowa. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thanks.
Anything else for public comment? Okay, all right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding 2012 street overlay project plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost. Being the time and place for the public hearing in regard to the 2012 street overlay project plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost, I, Mayor Dietz, will open the public hearing at 5:49 p.m. And I believe we have an associate from Clap Saddle Garber and Associates to review the details. Mark, is that?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Mark Crawford with Clap Saddle Garber Associates. I'm here tonight to just answer any questions you might have on the 2012 HMA Overlay Improvement Project. The project area is 6th and 7th Street Southwest, both of those streets from Central to 2nd Avenue Southwest. And we have two bid alternates for this project. Alternate number 1 is the intersection of 6th Street Southwest and 2nd Avenue Southwest. And alternate number 2 is First Avenue Southwest from Sixth Street to Seventh Street. You can envision where that's at. The project is a milling of the existing asphalt surface between the concrete curb and gutters, and then the replacement of 2 inches of asphalt surface back on the roadway. The project will also include the improvements to the existing sanitary sewer manholes that are located in the pavement by adjusting those to the finished grade surface. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ron, did you have any comments received?
No.
Okay. Is there any questions for Mark, or any public comment from the crowd regarding the overlay project?
I guess I would just point out that we received bids and then we're tabulating them, and the August 14th, we'll be going over those bids.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mark. Anything
Thanks.
else?
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. If there's no other comment, then we'll close the public hearing at 5:51. Next, we have committee reports. Finance and Personnel Committee Chair Dick Lukensmeyer.
Our next committee meeting is Monday, August 6th at 5:30 here in City Hall Chambers.
Okay. Thank you. City Services Committee Chair Jim Davies.
Well, I just wanted to say first, our next meeting is Tuesday, August 7th at 5:30 p.m. And then we do have a recommendation for increased hourly salary for an aquatic center employee.
Okay.
And that would be Haley Hanson. Currently, her wage is $7.10. And I think the committee's proposal was to increase that by 50 cents or.
I thought it was 25 cents. I'm sure she'd like
She wanted
50, but
50.
I think we're recommending a quarter. Not that she doesn't deserve the other, but.
Okay.
I guess I would move that we increase her salary 25 cents an hour to $7.35 an hour.
Was this just when the manager is gone, or is this all the time?
I think it was my understanding that it would be moved up to that salary all the time,
All
because
the
I don't
time.
know if the city really wants to have to deal with 2 different wage rates at the same time.
I think that night it was all the time. I know.
I believe that was what was my understanding. I don't know if you thought of it.
Can we get a second for Jim's motion, and then we can have other discussion? Second. I've got a motion by Jim and a second by Craig. Is there any further discussion on the wage increase? Yeah.
Just to point out that the real big reason for this increase was she has been acting as our assistant pool manager for this season, and got a thumbs up from Brad, the pool manager, and he felt that certainly it was worth it. She has maintained the pool in his absence, so that's why it was considered.
Any other? Okay. We'll have a vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. And Public Assets, Committee Chair is Steve Harms, but since he was absent at the last meeting.
I thought I'd first thank everybody for showing up. It was kind of a fruit basket upset night. There's no way I was gonna get back in time for the meeting, so Jim, I wanna thank you for filling in, and Dick, thank you. Diane, I appreciate it. So if you'd be so kind as to read the minutes. if you were
Well, I
there.
suppose, well, I think you should read the minutes since you weren't there, but I'll go ahead and read them for you, so. Okay, the meeting was held July 16th at 5:30 p.m. in City Council chambers. Members present: Jim Davies, Diane Crowley, Dick Lukensmeyer, Mayor Sean Dietz, City Manager Ron Dunn, Public Works Director Doug Tarr, Police Chief Bob Schaefer. Meeting was called to order at 5:30 p.m. Unfinished business was discussed. City Manager Ron Dunn provided the committee with a draft of ordinance number 335 regarding no parking on the First Street Northwest in the 1100 block. Ron explained that he had discussions with HD Superintendent Todd Leto and advised that, according to Leto, the school board is installing a camera security system to school entrances that may help alleviate the parking issue which prompted the no parking ordinance. Dick Lukensmeyer shared information received from Hampton citizen Shirley Ludens, who expressed her concerns regarding the issue. After much discussion and hearing from Chief Bob Schaefer, the committee directed Tarr to measure from the north side of the driveway at 1021 First Northwest, that's the Stewart property, north to 12th Avenue Northwest. Once that measurement is known, it will also serve as a no parking area on the west side of First Street Northwest as well. TAR will measure segments of First Street Northwest from 12th Avenue, make suggested changes to the ordinance, notify residents in the area, school administration, and Hampton Hydraulics representatives of the time and place of the first and subsequent readings of the ordinance. TAR provided an update pertaining to security system information at the Aquatic Center and Progress Park area. TAR explained that he had been in contact and met with 2 companies that will provide recommendations for a system at a future committee meeting. And TAR provided some history regarding the formal council recommendation to consider paving the library parking lot. Staff was directed to make contact with Kim Bell regarding the library needs. And under new business, TAR explained to the committee that the compost site was closed due to extremely hot weather recently as a safety measure for staff and patrons. TAR requested support from the committee to determine policy language that would set a high temperature that would be used as a tangible closing point, offering some consistency for patrons utilizing the facility. After hearing from the compost site staff member Jim Card, the committee established that once the thermometer at the site reaches 90 degrees, staff may request site closure from Public Works Director or the city manager. And TAR advised that August 18th would not be a feasible date to hold a recognition ceremony at Progress Park, as he was advised that the Rolling Prairie Trail component of the project would not be completed by that date. TAR said that he would provide information for the committee in the future when a date can be established, and the meeting was adjourned at 6:15 p.m.
And our next meeting will be the Tuesday, the 21st, 5:30 at City Council Chambers.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda in new business, we have consideration of approval of a request for a permit to install a vending machine in the public row located at 777 8th Street Southwest. And Steve Havlin, if you're in attendance to address the council.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name's Steve Havlin. I'm the owner of the Hampton Estates Mobile Home Park. We're wanting to put a vending machine, pop machine out there. We poured a 3x3-foot slab out there, and then I've got Creighton Electric that came out and was gonna do electrical. He got a hold of Doug Tarr, and Doug at that time said that the cement slab we had poured was on the city portion, and I measured, and it's 7 foot 3 inches away from the curb, or it's still on the city property. And I'm requesting to keep that slab there if that's possible without moving it over. I think maybe 2 feet, Doug, would be, so.
Doug, do you have any problems with it there?
No, there's no existing sidewalk there. It just happens to be in the right of way where if sidewalk is ever in the future established, it would be and is on city property. Just kind of going by what's in the ordinance on this, and we have a permit form that Steve can sign if this is approved. But no, I don't personally have a problem with it.
You know, I drove by and it looks fine, and Steve, actually, I wanna thank you, you've done a lot of work out there. And I really think it's starting to really look good, and I think it's from an economic development standpoint, having that as an option for people to live there, I think is very good, and I thank you for all the efforts that you're putting into that park.
Thank you. I also want to thank the police department too, because they're making more runs down there, and it's, people are aware of that, and they feel safer, and that's our goal, to make it a place everybody wants to live, so thank you.
Craig, did you?
My only concern, Mayor, would have been, I drove by there too, and I think it's fine, but what about snow removal? Would it be in a way to impede snow removal or hinder your crews? I would be worried about liability if it happened.
I think Steve would, need to know that it's gonna be liability at his own risk. It does get extremely deep down that stretch. With snow, we get a lot of drifting in that area because there's agricultural fields nearby, very nearby. So it does drift in pretty good. It is quite a distance away, but it will drift up there, so.
Well, I wondered about that too. The street that runs down through the park is my responsibility.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to, and we didn't have much of a snow, and I just bought it last year, so I got lucky. But I'm sure that it does drift in quite a bit there.
Just keeping that corner clean,
Yeah.
Working together, we do our best, but we do put the big trucks down that way, so.
It gets impassable in a hurry.
Yeah, it does.
Anything else? Okay, do I have a?
I guess I I would move that we approve the request for the permit to install a vending machine.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I have a motion by Jim and a second by Steve to approve the permit request. Is there any other discussion?
My only concern would be the liability for damages, as long as he's comfortable with it, basically on your own, trying to get it, certainly should happen.
Sure. So with the clarification, the owner is responsible for
If that's what you're with.
Oh, yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, if there's no other discussion, we'll vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is consideration of approval of contract for CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program. City Manager Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. In a letter from the Iowa Economic Development Authority, to the DEC indicated that they were pleased to inform the city that the Iowa Economic Development Authority has awarded the City of Hampton a Community Development Block Grant Housing Fund award in the amount of not to exceed $278,700 for owner-occupied rehabilitation. IEDA has received a final grant award from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. This Community Development Block Grant Program Housing Fund contract is made by and between the Iowa Economic Development Authority, 200 East Grand Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa, 50309, and the recipient, City of Hampton, effective as of the date stated above. Whereas the authority is designated to receive, administer, and disperse CDBG funds, and whereas the authority desires to disperse grant funds to the recipient for eligible purposes primarily benefiting low and moderate income persons, eliminating slums and blight, or meeting community development needs having particular urgency. And whereas the recipient submitted an application for funding to the authority and the authority has approved the application. And whereas in approving the application, the authority has relied upon the representations of proposed activities, management, and financial condition of the recipient, investment of other funds, and other material information contained therein. Whereas the recipient has certified to the authority that the primary purpose for obtaining CDBG funds is to primarily benefit low and moderate income persons, eliminate slums and blight, or meet community development needs having particular urgency. Now therefore the recipient accepts this grant on the terms and conditions set forth in this contract. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Rob. Do we have any questions based on the pink sheets in your packets or based on the grant? Okay, do I have a motion to approve or deny?
I would move we approve.
Motion by Jim to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Diane. Motion by Jim and a second by Diane to approve the CDBG grant. Is there any further discussion? Okay.
This has been a very successful program in the past, it's done a lot of good in the city.
Thank you, Steve. If there's no other discussion, we'll have the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next is consideration of approval of change order number 2, Progress Park Pavement Project. City Manager Dunn.
Thank you. Change order number 2 is outlined, the details in the dark purple pages in your packet, which I'll review. The contractor removed concrete panels between the 2 tennis courts and discovered a very wet subgrade that they were unable to compact or dry out without additional material. The wet clay was cored out to a depth of 6 inches, and 6 inches of sub-base rock was brought in place and compacted with a roller prior to placing the full depth asphalt. The crews supplied some of the material, and the contractor brought in some material. Therefore, the city crews supplied some material, and the contractor brought in some material. Therefore, the change order contains an item for supply in place, as well as place only for the sub-base rock. This change added $3,935.56 to the project for a total of $7,071.23 added to the project to date. So the net change, this change order is $3,935.56. Questions?
Well, this isn't surprising, because I think, given the condition of the courts, we weren't really sure what was going on down there. I guess I'm not surprised at all that they ended up having to do more work.
a second?
Second.
Second by Craig. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is consideration of approval of pay request number 2, Progress Park Improvement Project. City Manager Doug.
Construction pay estimate number 2 for Progress Park improvements, in the amount of $26,548.37. Construction completed to date in the amount of $59,735.26. Less previous payments of $30,200.13. Retainage of $2,986.76. So what you would be approving tonight is pay estimate number 2 for park improvements for $26,548.37.
Questions for Ron? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve or deny?
So moved.
To approve? Approve. Motion by Steve to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is consideration of approval of pay request number 2 for the Progress Park pavement project. City Manager Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for Progress Park Tennis Court, Basketball Court, Skate Park Pavement Improvement Project. Construction completed to date in the amount of $86,827.19, less previous payment of $4,183.80, less retainage of 5%, $4,341.36. Amount due this estimate, $78,302.03. Questions?
Do I have a motion and a second to approve or deny?
I move to approve.
Motion by Jim to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Craig. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is consideration of approval of pay request number 2, Progress Park Lighting Project. City Manager John.
This is pay estimate number 2, Progress Park Tennis Court Lighting Improvements. Contractor is Creighton Electric, Sheffield. Construction completed to date, $8,993.59. Less previous payment of $4,496.80. Less a retainage of 5%, $449.68. Amount due this estimate, $4,047.11.
Any questions for Ron? Do I have a motion to approve or deny?
So moved.
Second.
To approve? Motion by Dick and a second by Steve to approve. Okay. Any further discussion?
We had a little bit of a question as to whether maybe we would add a little bit to this. Those figures, they don't reflect an estimate for a 110 outlet.
No, that'll be coming in the future.
Yeah, Doug?
I do have information on that for you, Dick. I was gonna bring it up. Originally to actually install 110 at the far east sunshade shelter was about $400. I've talked to Mindy, we've discussed, but it's $200, but it'll be added at the panel, and it would have to run extension cord is all from the west court. So to utilize whatever machine would be to utilize on the west court or have a longer extension cord, it was just cheaper to do it that way. So they've talked to Creighton Electric about
Speak
that.
up a little bit.
They've talked to Creighton Electric about that already, so it's $200 to get it 110 hooked up there, so.
That'd be on the northwest corner then of the 4 courts.
Correct.
And we were also gonna make it so it was accessible only by padlock and key or something to.
What we're doing is, I believe it's gonna go inside the box that's there already, so the control panel, to my understanding, I'll verify that.
Okay.
Did you say the east or west?
West,
West courts that would be used on?
west court. Yep. That way we didn't have to run a lot of
Right.
wire.
I just thought you said east once and.
I'm sorry.
I was confused.
I probably
So,
did.
That's fine.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have approval of the claims recommended by the Finance Committee. Tonight, that is in the amount of $202,064.99. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the claims?
So moved.
Motion by Dick, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any discussion on the claims? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Next is introduction and consideration of approval and adoption of resolutions and ordinances. First is Resolution 2012-30, a resolution adopting disadvantaged business enterprise program for Hampton Municipal Airport, the city of Hampton, Iowa. I'll refer the reading to City Manager Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution adopting disadvantaged business enterprise program for the Hampton Municipal Airport, city of Hampton, Iowa. Whereas the city of Hampton, Iowa is a recipient of funding assistance from the Federal Aviation Administration, and whereas as a condition of receiving such assistance, the city of Hampton, Iowa is required to comply with regulations of the United States Department of Transportation, 49 CFR Part 26, including implementation of a disadvantaged business enterprise program. And whereas there has now been placed on file in the office of the city manager of the city of Hampton, Iowa, the disadvantaged business enterprise program for the Hampton Municipal Airport, now therefore be it resolved of the council of the city of Hampton, Iowa, that the council does now adopt and approve the DBE program for the Hampton Municipal Airport heretofore placed on file, and the city clerk is hereby ordered to publish the policy statement and the public notice in accordance with the provisions of the DBE program for the Hampton Municipal Airport. Thank you, Mayor.
Do I have a motion to approve or otherwise amend the resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Jim to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Is this a roll call vote? Eckhart?
Aye.
Harms?
Aye.
Davies?
Aye.
Lukensmeyer?
Aye.
Crowley?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Next is Resolution 2012-31, a resolution declaring an official intent under Treasury Regulation 1.150-2 to issue debt to reimburse the city for certain original expenditures paid in connection with specified projects. I'll refer the reading to City Manager Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution declaring an official intent under Treasury Regulation 1.150-2 to issue debt to reimburse the city for certain original expenditures paid in connection with specified projects. Whereas the city anticipates making cash expenditures for one or more capital improvement projects generally described below, each of which shall hereinafter be referred to as the project. This is for wastewater treatment plant. Whereas the city reasonably expects to issue debt to reimburse the costs of the project, whereas the council believes it is consistent with the city's budgetary and financial circumstances to issue this declaration of official intent. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hampton, Iowa, Section 1, that this resolution be and does hereby serve as a declaration of official intent under Treasury Regulation 1.150-2. Section 2, that it is reasonably expected that the capital expenditures will be made in respect of the following project from time to time and in such amounts as this council determines to be necessary or desirable under the circumstances then and there existing. Section 3, that the city reasonably expects to reimburse all or a portion of the following expenditures with the proceeds of bonds, notes, or other indebtedness to be issued or incurred by the city in the future. Section 4, that the total estimated cost of the project, the maximum principal amounts of the bonds, notes, and other indebtedness to be issued for the foregoing project, and the estimated dates of completion of the project is reasonably expected to be as follows. The project, wastewater treatment plant facility, fund from which original expenditures are to be advanced, $150,000 sewer revenue fund. Total estimated cost, $7 million. Amount of borrowing anticipated, $5 million. Estimated date of completion, 8/31/2014. That the city reasonably expects to reimburse the above-mentioned project costs not later than the later of 18 months after the capital expenditures are paid, or 18 months after the property is placed in service. That this resolution be maintained by the city clerk in an official intent, file maintained in the office of clerk, and available at all times for public inspection, subject to such revisions as may be necessary. And I'll explain this in English. our bonding attorney is suggesting that we pass this resolution. We have been incurring legal expenses and engineering expenses related to the wastewater treatment plant in the design phase, and we'll be incurring, more expenses, but we haven't bonded the project yet. So we have a state revolving fund loan, 0% interest that we've been getting. We pay the legal fees and the engineering fees, and then we get reimbursed through the state revolving fund at a 0% rate. That's kind of an interim loan, and but that's for $350,000. And anticipating we're going to go over that amount, and then we're going to start spending into our sewer fund balance, our cash on hand. And if at some point we want to be reimbursed for that, we have to have passed this resolution, or the federal Treasury Department and the IRS have issues with that and won't allow us to be reimbursing our own funds. So bonding attorney is recommending we approve this in case we want to reimburse the fund at a later date. These dollar amounts in here are simply estimates. I show a total estimated cost of $7 million. I don't know if it's going to be $7 million, but we had to use some number, and you don't want to use a low number. An estimated borrowing anticipated $5 million. Like same thing. I don't know if borrowing $5 million. I anticipate it to be less, but we want to be on the high side. So these are estimated numbers that we reasonably expect to use. So anyway, I would recommend we follow the attorney's advice and approve it. Any questions? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. There's no questions. Do I have a motion?
So moved. To approve.
Motion by Craig to approve.
Second.
Second by Steve. Any further discussion? Okay. We'll have a roll call vote. Lukensmeyer?
Aye.
Crowley?
Aye.
Eckhart?
Aye.
Harms?
Aye.
Davies?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next is Resolution 2012-33, the 2012 Overlay Project. Resolution adopting plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate of costs. I'll refer the reading of the resolution to City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution adopting plans, specifications, and form of contract and estimate of cost. Whereas on the 21st day of June 2012, plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost were filed with the clerk for the construction of certain public improvements described in general as the 2012 HMA overlay project. And whereas notice of hearing on plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the public improvements was published as required by law, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hampton, Iowa, Section 1, that the plan, specifications, form of contract, estimate of cost are hereby approved as the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the public improvements as described in the preamble of this resolution. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion
So moved.
to approve?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Lukensmeyer?
Aye.
Oops, I went over there. We'll go backwards. Eckhart?
Aye.
Harms?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Davies?
Aye.
Next is ordinance number 335, first reading. An ordinance amending chapter 69 of Hampton Municipal Code of 2009 by adding additional section thereto providing area for limited parking. For reading of the ordinance, City Manager Delt.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is regarding the no parking being proposed on First Street Northwest near the high school, 12th Avenue. Ordinance 335, an ordinance amending chapter 69 of the Hampton Municipal Code of 2009 by adding additional section thereto providing area for limited parking. Chapter 69 of the Hampton Municipal Code of 2009 is hereby amended by adding thereto new subsections to section 69.08, adding number 14 and number 15 as follows. 14. First Street Northwest, west side of street, 65 feet south of south right-of-way of 12th Avenue Northwest, no parking. Number 15. First Street Northwest, east side of street, 65 feet south of south right-of-way of 12th Avenue Northwest, no parking. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And we did have a citizen comment regarding this in writing. Mr. Myron Card of 931 First Street Northwest stopped into City Hall to say he was unable to attend the council meeting tonight, but wanted to offer his input on this ordinance. He prefers if the council would extend the no parking zone further to 10th Place Northwest. He also encouraged the council to place stop signs on 12th Avenue Northwest where it intersects with First Street Northwest. He also feels that speeding is a problem on that street and encourages the city to try to control the speeding better. Is there any other questions or comments regarding this particular ordinance? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Okay. Motion by Steve to approve.
Second.
Second by Dick. Any further discussion?
I had contact with 5 of the 2 residents closest to this area. They were all in support. And I'd like to thank Shirley Ludens for her diligence and very objective letters that she's written, and also the Hampton School Board for their quick action for helping alleviate this problem also.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Okay. We'll run a roll call vote here as well. Crawley?
Aye.
Lukensmeyer?
Aye.
Davies?
Aye.
Arms?
Aye.
And Eckhart?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Motion carries. Next is the consent agenda, and this includes to approve the previous minutes as drafted from the Tuesday, July 10th, 2012 regular session meeting. Schedules the next regular session for Tuesday, August 14th, 2012 at 5:30 p.m. at City Council Chambers. And the approval of liquor licensing renewal for El Valle Tienda at 212 First Avenue Northwest in Hampton. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So,
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jim. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is staff reports. We have Police Chief Bob Schaefer first.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. Don't have a lot tonight. I do want to thank everybody that came out to the fair. We had a successful week for the Dare Dunk Tank. We made $1,330. Appreciate all those that also sat in the dunk tank to help. One of the things is, if you've heard on the news, we've had a rash of break-ins lately. Encourage all the residents to maybe take a look at their place, make sure that it is secure. Some of them are where they just walked in, some of them where they have gone and broken glass in order to get in. And basically for people to keep an eye out, you know, even the smallest thing might give us a detail of who it is that might be out there doing it. One of the other things I wanted to mention is along the lines of with the stop signs and or the speeding on 12th Avenue. I know previous to us putting stop signs up on 12th Avenue and on Federal, that was an issue with the speeding there. And from time to time, you know, we have gone and run radar there. I don't think there has been, you know, recently or whatever, but I know that if there's residents up there feeling that that it's happening, ask them to contact us, let us know, so that we can go and make sure that we do that, or anywhere else, you know, in town, as a matter of fact. I know different places, I've heard, you know, different complaints of, you know, where there's people speeding or whatever. The problem is being able to be there at the time that they're doing it on some of these streets, because there isn't a whole lot of traffic, but when there is, there might be somebody speeding, so it is kind of tough in that aspect. But other than that, I think that's all that I've got for this evening, if anybody has any questions.
I had one comment from a citizen actually today about speeding on Highway 65 south of the intersection of 3 and 65.
Okay.
It seems quite frequent.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Public Works Director Doug Tiller.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, just, I think there was a secondary handout other than my report that I gave you. this information from Andy Smith, UK engineer, design engineer of the Highway 65 project. He has some recommendation in that regarding the BSA sidewalk issue. I'd be looking for some direction. My initial thoughts as your public works director would be to look at some of that advice. I believe two panels could be replaced, the northernmost and the southernmost. There's 3 areas where we have issues, and I'd propose that we replace the north and take care of the north, and the second by city staff going in there, pouring and putting 2 expansion joints on each side of the panel that we install, just in the case that heat expands the soils underneath, and it comes up again. If we have, you can never have too much expansion if you're willing to listen to that or approve that, and then let's see what happens when the temperatures go down a little bit. I don't believe the middle one poses much of a trip hazard at this time. It's kind of a gradual up and a gradual down on both sides. It very well may go down, and then when it does go down, I would propose then that we take a concrete saw and follow the direction that the engineer suggested, and possibly put a saw cut in there to alleviate some of the pressure. There's a lot of pressure because of the heat and the buckling that has occurred. There's some expansion joints there that have really been pinched down. It's a lot of pressure on concrete. Typically doesn't happen on sidewalks very often, and typically going on a concrete road. But anyway, that would be what I would recommend, but I'm willing to listen, and I'll do whatever you guys decide you'd like me to do.
The second option was to wait for the weather to cool down, see if the affected areas settle back down. How does BSA feel about that waiting process?
I haven't talked to them about a waiting process at this time. I can talk to them. I think they would have a concern with liability. The southernmost problem, the actual there was stress where the 2 pavements, actually there's a lip, there's about a ½ inch of a trip, and that's definitely a trip hazard. I don't think when it cools that's necessarily gonna fall back into place like that middle section would. And then the section on the northernmost that we would replace is one that's actually cracked a panel completely in half. It's not necessarily a trip hazard, however, it is a cracked panel, and once moisture gets down in there, if you don't seal that crack somehow, moisture will get down in there and it'll create more heaving at that joint where that's cracked. That's why I would propose to do those 2, but to go cooler in the middle, because I do believe that one has more of a potential to come back and not have any issues necessarily.
I guess I'm wondering, there's not a lot of concrete involved here, and you get charged minimum charges to deliver concrete. So I'm wondering if whatever we do, it all shouldn't be done at the same time to save costs for the city.
And we can replace all 3 sections if that's what you want to do.
So you're needing direction from the council then on how to
Look
proceed?
for how you want me to proceed.
We just have to replace the 1 panel in each of those 2 end sections, correct? We don't have to do the ones beside it or anything?
Right,
It's
no.
just the broken one there,
Right,
and
just
then
the
the far
broken one,
ones.
and the ones that
Okay.
are split, we'll replace one of those, and because when we cut into it, it'll alleviate the pressure.
Okay.
Should fall back down to grade on the wall.
I think it's something we should go ahead with.
All 3?
I think so.
Okay, well then we'd be replacing 3 panels.
I mean, we're gonna be less than a yard of concrete, are we not?
Close, be close. We might be a little bit more, but not much, shouldn't be.
I'd say all 3 pounds.
Yeah, it's fine. That's what we'll do.
That work for everybody? Okay.
Perfect. What other questions do you have?
I had a question on your report here on the lighting up the aquatic center. You had a secondary solution there of turning on the canister lights. Are we doing that now? Or
Right.
is that something that has to be wired for separately?
No, we don't have to
We're
do
doing it now.
anything with that. We've, the manager's been in and out. He's had some, medical issues, so I need to get with him yet to make that start happening. But we could do that here
No.
fairly soon. I believe he's done, but he's had some other complications. So, but somehow I'll get with maybe the assistant then and get it out there.
Anything else for Doug? Thank you. Next, City Manager Ron Dunn.
I don't have anything to report unless anybody has any questions.
Questions for Ron? Okay, thank you. Next is council reports. At-large Councilman Steve Harms.
Well, pretty much hashed everything over here, I don't have anything else.
Great, thanks, Steve. Next is Ward 3 Councilwoman Diane Crowley.
Went by the park at noon and there's lots of kids using it already, which is good. I hope they all enjoy it. That's about all I have.
Thanks. At-large Councilman Dick Lukensmeyer.
Well, I've got about 10 pages here. The longer I go, the more you guys can stay in the air conditioning, so.
Make it quick.
You know, I'm glad the park project is wrapping up. It's looking very good, and it's good to hear that the skateboard park's being used. I know the tennis courts will be used, the basketball courts are gonna be used. We're making some nice improvements in our facilities. We've got citizen participation. Great to see all you folks here, people like Shirley Ludens that are willing to objectively look at situations and converse with the people that can solve the problems. That's what happened, and that's what we need is more communication, one-on-one, face-to-face, instead of letting things get blown out of hand.
Okay.
So let's continue with that pace.
Thank you, Dick. Ward 2 Councilman Jim Davies.
Two things. I stopped prior to the meeting and talked with about 15 kids that were using the skate park. And that was great. And they had some suggestions, and I encouraged them to come down to City Hall and talk to the city staff about it. But it was great to see the kids all using that. And then the second thing, I just wanted to extend my condolences to the Roger Don family. Roger's chairman of the board of First National Bank, past president. He was very involved in the community, and one of the things that he did, I think he was quite instrumental in helping us get the trail project started. So I just wanted to, he just passed away Sunday, and like I said, he was a great member of the community, and again, my condolences to his family.
Thank you. Ward 4 Councilman Craig Eckert.
Thank you, Mayor. Same kind of thoughts along your lines too, Jim, that you have to look far and wide. You see Roger Don's hand in a lot of things around this community. I think even with that Main Street, Van Shell Park sign. So our condolences are with the family. I too would like to comment on the skate park. I've seen a lot of kids using it. Some kids up there today barefoot on that hot asphalt. They were using it and having a ball. Seen bikes and skateboards, I guess. But, and last, I would like to sincerely thank Ryan Stock and wish him well in his endeavors. I didn't get to know him real well. We only got to work with him for a short period of time, but thank you for stepping up and wish him well. That's it.
Thank you, Craig. Next for my report, I will echo obviously the condolences to the Don family. I didn't know Roger, but certainly a member of the community like that is lost, and that's a sad situation. And the comments from Councilman Eckhart as well on Ryan Stock's departure. Tough situation for him, I know. He's got some personal things to work through, and hopefully now he can take the time to do that. Also want to thank everybody for coming out and attending tonight. I know sometimes it's questioned, sometimes how many people are really interested, and I think we see a lot of people here tonight who are interested, and I thank you all for showing up. One last thing, I'll say it's my mom's birthday today, and so I want to wish my mom a happy birthday. And I've thought about this all day today since it's her birthday. One thing she's taught me is to believe in people, and I've thought about that all day today, and she's right, man. So a good belief in people, and I have great faith in people, thanks to her. So if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Craig.
Second.
Second by Dick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody's ever opposed. 6:35. Thanks, Craig.